Well, well, well. I waited until decently far in the afternoon to open a beer, so let's, do that. Talk about stuff, shall we? Cheers! Welcome back, everybody, to me doing the weekly navel-gazing on a Monday, as it's supposed to be. The regular thing every week, unless we're on like holiday break or whatever, or I forget, or it's Tuesday or whatever. Anyway, the weekly thing where I talk about all the books I read last week, all the books I plan to read this week, all the videos I made last week, all the videos I plan to make this week, and so much more. And it usually descends into me rambling self pityingly for a while and then just like having it all peter out somewhere. Anyway, let's get started. And I did read books last week. Isn't that great? I actually read quite a lot of books. I finished Him by Jeff Ryman, and it's a brilliant book. I absolutely fucking loved it. It's great. It does so many brilliant things. Go read it. It's really, really, really good. If you're interested in, religion, if you're interested in Palestine under Roman occupation, still struggling with the effects of Hellenism, if you're interested in Jesus Christ, if you're like, look, it's a brilliant book. Go read it. I'll try to come up with a way to make a video about it, but for now, just go read the bloody book. It's great. What else did I read? Well, I did reread The Prefect by Alistair Reynolds, and it's still fun. I do very much enjoy it. And then I reread Elysium Fire by Alistair Reynolds, and it's also still fun. I did enjoy it. And then I read Machine Vendetta by Alistair Reynolds, and it's also a lot of fun, and I did enjoy it. Now, I'm still somewhat divided on whether I will make a video on this one too, because they're just really fun books, and I have not yet come up with an idea of what to say about more than, if you like sci-fi and maybe a bit of police procedural stuff in sci-fi, go read these books. They're brilliant. Go read them. So I read those, and then I read The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud for my offline book club with friends, and it's not for me. It's a good book. If you're into YA ghost stories, then definitely go for it. It's well done. It's well crafted. It has some issues. I'm just really not the target audience, is what I figured out and what I learned throughout all of this. So that's a book I read. And then I read A Fine and Private Place by Peter S. Beagle, and oh my god, is this a marvel of a book. I love it to death. It's so brilliant. It's the most Neil Gaiman book Neil Gaiman has never written, but it is really good. Don't worry, he's written an introduction to it though, because of course he has. Anyway, it's a brilliant book. It's a ghost story. It's a love story. It has a talking raven that steals sandwiches. It's a fantastic book, and I'll try to make a video about it. But yeah, go read that book. It's out in a new audiobook edition. It says narrated by Neil Gaiman on Audible, but that's not the case. He just wrote the introduction. The narration is still good though. Anyway, go read that book. Make this the year where you read way too much Peter S. Beagle, because he's got a new one coming out as well. And that's all the books I read last week, which is 5.5, I guess. That's not too shabby, is it? So what am I planning to read this week? Frankly, I have no idea. See, I just finished Fine and Private Place half an hour ago, and now I'm like, well, I don't know what I'll read next. When it comes to fiction, that's definitely non-fiction stuff that I'm going to read. But like right now, I'm still so much, stuck in this specific book in Final and Private Place, that it's very hard for me to come up with what kind of fiction book I want to read next. There may be some out there. It may be The Spear Cut Through Water. It may even be Too Like the Lightning. Who knows? But right now, I have no idea. And the next one that I really need to read on publication is, of course, Gog Magog, and that one comes out in, I don't know, 3 weeks. And the next one for my offline book club is, of course, the Eye in the Pyramid, the first Illuminatus book by Robert Shea and Robert Wilson, which I read before, twice already. I love them. They'll be great. But that too, I don't need to start that one now. And so there you have it. I don't know what I'll be reading next. When it comes to non-fiction, I do, however, have some plans and ideas, because it's time to slowly warm up the Sanderstorm, and I'm going to start by reading the Book of Mormon, because I think it's a good starting point. There's a brand new history of Mormonism in the U.S. coming out next week. It's called American Zion. It comes out on the 30th, and I'm definitely going to read that one. It seems like, probably one of the best ways to get myself into, more immersed in Mormon church history and, influence in American history in general and stuff like that. It is, as I said, brand new, written by a very good historian, so I'm going to read that one next week, but that's next week. So, Book of Mormon this week, also Reformations by Carlos M. Ayer, because, I still need to read that book about Reformations. Beyond that, I'll see what comes my way and how I feel. And if you have suggestions, then there's comments down there. You can drop your suggestions there. Otherwise, I'll just see what catches my fancy. So let's talk about videos and stuff. I did make 2 videos, which is not too bad, I think. I made my video on I Shall Wear Midnight by Terry Pratchett. It took me 2 recording attempts because it's difficult to make those kind of videos sometimes, especially with that specific part of Terry Pratchett. I sometimes really struggle to put my feelings into words with those. And I'm like, yeah, it's so good, but it doesn't flow real well. So I'm glad I finally managed to make the I Shall Wear Midnight video. And I made a video where I talked about the 13 books that come out this year and that I'm going to read when they come out. Now there's only 12 left because Machine Vendetta came out on Thursday, so that's that. Yeah, that's 2 videos. Not too bad. I feel like 2 videos per week sounds reasonable for me right now if I come up with ideas, and sometimes there'll be more. So this week, I don't know if if all goes well and I have brilliant ideas, I'll make a video on him by Jeff Ryman, and I'll make a video on A Fine and Private Place by Peter S. Beagle, and that's pretty good. But there will be more because it's the end of the month, and on the 27th, that's Saturday, we'll do the live stream. It's going to be me alone because so far I haven't gotten off my ass and asked anyone else. So for now, it's going to be me. We'll, talk a bit about the start of the year, books and stuff, and how the world sucks, the usual things, and that will be on Saturday. And I will be part of an upcoming collab conversation. That I'll tell you more about once it's recorded, but it's going to be recorded on Saturday if all goes well, and I'm excited for it. It's an important topic. It's one that that I've tackled before. It's one that you're all interested in. But for more, you'll have to wait until next week. So I might actually, do some stuff this week. Wouldn't that be fun to kind of start the actual year slowly, I think. I think that's sort of where I am right now with productivity and stuff like that. Slowly warming up for Sanderson, slowly actually starting the year in a way. I said that before that, like, what with Christmas and everything taking so long, it felt like I was, like the year hadn't really fully started yet until I finished the Christmas stuff. So this is slowly where I come back to doing the things that I think of as, regular content or whatever. Um, what with having one having the weekly navel-gazing and starting to talk about books again and doing these things slowly. That's sort of where I am right now. um I'm not gonna lie, my hope was that using the Drisma thing all the way into January would give me sort of a way to overcome that black hole I always fall into during the holiday season around New Year's. I don't know if I managed to do that. On the one hand, yes, there have been fairly regular videos on this channel, but beyond that, I've certainly struggled with it. I'm going through one of these phases where I wonder what I actually do, what's my purpose in life, why am I doing this? Um, Struggling with the whole question of human contact, which is not always easy. I'm really not good at interacting with people in a lot of ways, or at least to sort of figure out the the thin border between casual interactions and what you might call a deeper friendship, which is kind of difficult to figure out, especially with the digital times. I think I'm sort of in this weird place age wise where I'm sort of mostly digital being. I'm obviously yeah. I'm not fully a digital native yet because I'm slightly too old for that. So I still find it difficult to figure out, or for me, like the physical world out here where I sit is still fundamentally different from the digital sphere in a way that I think it is no longer really for younger generations that grew up with, with smartphones and the internet from the beginning. I did not have that. So I'm sort of struggling with that because so much interaction is happening digitally these days. Um, but I sometimes struggle with figuring that stuff out, and that's certainly something I've been thinking about a lot. And books like A Fine and Private Place, with its main character living on a cemetery and trying to hide from the world, do strike nerves there that I found, not interesting, but definitely moving in a lot of ways, and have helped, well, not helped, but like sort of kept me in that place. And I think that's sort of, it does, it was fitting sort of in a way to like where we are right now, where I am right now at the beginning of the year, this weird holding pattern between like the old year and the new year and figuring out who you are. It's stuff that I'm just really bad at, right? It's like I want to do stuff, I want to bring some form of meaning and purpose to my life, and I don't have that right now. I'm officially unemployed. I have no idea when I'll be mentally able to do a proper job again. I'm just sort of in this weird holding pattern, sort of, and that's not always healthy mentally. So I'm slowly trying to figure out what kind of fictions of occupation I can create that keep me, or not, but slowly move me into a place where I'm, mentally stable enough to actually do meaningful things and not just sit on my ass and read books all day and talk about them on camera, which, if that would pay my bills, I'll happily make that my job, but obviously doesn't. So there's that. So I'm just thinking about these things, and there's like something I want to mention, and I don't know, figure out what to do with, and let me know in the comments what you think about it, and we'll see how that goes in a moment. See, last year, autumn, like September, October, I kind of started thinking. I got the inspiration out of all kinds of weird reasons to say, I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna write a novel, just to see if I can and if it's possible and so forth. I'm gonna try to document the whole process. And then life happened and I got stuck, and I wrote a couple of updates for the Patreon because I wanted to, put that stuff behind the Patreon walls in a way, in case I fail, to hide my shame from almost all of you. Um, but also to maybe add something of value to the Patreon that it doesn't have at the moment. I'm like, seriously, everyone who's a patron right now, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. It truly does. But I always feel bad because I'm always in this weird double bind where I'm like, I don't want to, produce stuff that is not accessible to people simply because they can't afford to pay for it. I don't want to do that. It feels wrong to me. But on the other hand, I want to do something to make people that do give me money feel appreciated in a way, and I'm trying to figure out that stuff. And I thought that maybe writing these text updates on the Patreon would work in that way. And I think there is still worth to that. Although it basically means I'm writing two things at the same time, a novel and these weekly or whatever updates. But on the other hand, it also takes away a lot of the pressure, and I'm certainly someone who needs pressure and outside reminders that I'm still around, right? There's a wonderful bit in A Fine and Private Place that talks about the fact that humans need sort of like that constant grinding of need acknowledgement from the outside world, need to be recognized, so we are, sure that we are actually alive and that we actually here. And I think that's a big truth, and it's there. And kind of reminds me of another quote that comes up in a Terry Pratchett book in, I think, Men at Arms. Yeah, it's Men at Arms, where Pratchett talks about how humans are not not just paid up members of the human race by being born, but need to be constantly jostled around by the Brownian motion of society. It's how Pratchett I'm paraphrasing here. Don't shoot me. I've read that book like last year for the last time. I'm not word perfect on Pratchett yet, which is a big failure. My point is, there is something to that, and it's obviously a truth that we mostly were aware of. But yeah, when it comes to creativity, I need some external pressure because if I'm just sitting here with my own, I'm like, well, I'd better. I'm very easy to fool. I'm a very forgiving person in general, which means I'm very forgiving to myself when I don't hit deadlines. I may hate myself afterwards, but I definitely don't force myself to actually do something about it, which is part of the problem. So I'm wondering if there's ways to make this pressure to build this idea because I have ideas for that famous hypothetical book that I plan on writing, and I have ideas, and I still think that documenting the process might be interesting in a lot of ways. And I was wondering if that is something that maybe I should do, like a video diary entries or whatever about it. If that's something you're even interested in, not so much details for the actual novel, although at some point I'll probably have to, show bits of of text to someone, but maybe you have say sort of some ongoing series of like more like reflective, like me sitting there like here, this is where I am right now. I don't want to call it a vlog because how's a vlog different from anything I do anyway? Um, is that something you'd be interested in? Like me writing a novel and figuring out how to write a novel from scratch, and while being me, which means not good at interacting with writers, not good at interacting with people in general, really bad at taking advice, all of these things. Is that something you'd be interested in? Let me know in the comments. I really appreciate your input there. Should I still take these videos and put them up for patrons first and foremost, or do the thing where I make video updates and I write bits and pieces for patrons, and at some point I'll just put those public when I'm further along, so you get something first at the Patreon. As I said, there's a lot of like weird ethical concerns here that I'm just mostly making up for myself because it's me trying to create the semblance of integrity, and I'm not saying I have any integrity, just saying like I'd like to pretend. Yeah, as I said, I'm sort of wondering because making this the year where I actually try to finish that book, see how long it takes to write a first draft, see how long it takes to actually do stuff with it. That might be an interesting thing for maybe one or two of you. And if I actually finish writing anything, then yeah, we'll figure out how you can get at least get to read how terrible I am at actually writing books versus at talking about them, which maybe I'm better at that. Who knows? It's an exciting time for someone, I'm sure. For me, it's still sort of that ongoing, like walking slowly against like the pressure of a new year, slowly trying to drag me back into the past because it's the past's always a more comfortable place than the future or the present, right? So I'm still sort of struggling with that at the moment. But I thought I'd just say all these things and see what happens, and until we've come up with ideas, or me, I've come up with ideas. I'll hope you have a good week. I hope you had a good week. I hope you read some brilliant books. If you have nothing else to do, go read A Fine and Private Place. And yeah, I'll talk to you about something very soon. And until then, thanks for checking in. Thanks in general, and cheers.